Good evening, Pure Potential members. Friday, July 11th, 7-Eleven day. Hope you guys are having a good one. Got the video out today. I feel like it took me way too long to finish that one up, but I did like how it turned out. Hope you guys get a chance to watch it. But tonight, members only. We're here to talk about some of your trades. A couple of questions as well that were asked that I'll get to before we do the trades, but we've got Helix in the chat. He is here. It was first one that I can see that messaged. We've got Yellow Dog here. Austin very kindly asking Yella how he's doing. Very nice to see you guys getting along so well in the chat. Theo is here ready to have his trades roasted. I have not looked at any of these trades, so we're going to see them all for the first time, and I will give you my pure, unadulterated thoughts on each one. We'll see how it goes. Freelster, I am on time. Just barely hit the button on time. Yellow says, my skincare routine on point. That is the magic of lighting, my friend. And also, I did get some sun today. I mowed the lawn a couple hours ago. So, you know, we are glowing today. Richard is here to say today's video was great. Hey, thank you. I appreciate that. Always good to hear, especially because nobody is subscribing off of that video, because apparently you have to say out loud, please subscribe to the channel, or nobody's going to do it. So, we're up about 3,500 views. I've gained like 8 subscribers. It's fine. It is what it is. Good video still, actionable for the people. T-Hum is here as well. We got a good turnout right now, so I guess the timing was totally fine. Oh, okay. Austin wants to know how I'm doing. I'm doing great. Like I said, happy to get the video done. I got the mowing done. Good question. As I always do, consume some content while I'm mowing the lawn. I actually listened. I listened to a sermon actually at first, and then I tuned into the Late Round Perspectives show that JJ Zachariason does with guests each week. Jacob Sanderson was on this week. Those are two of my favorite analysts. So got most of the way through that one. It's more like seasonal focus, but it's a good listen for sure. And yeah, so I think we're all caught up on the chat. Oh, here we go. One more message I didn't acknowledge yet from another viewer. Manster415 ready to get yelled at. I don't plan to yell at anybody, to be honest with you, but I may make fun of you. We'll see. We'll see. All right. So 2 questions here out off the top from the member stream chat. Nico asked, on the next member stream, could you give your insight on AJ Brown? He just turned 28. There's a lot of fluff out there that he will inherently fall off a cliff next season. Do you think this is the case? If so, would you try to sell your AJ Brown shares if you're probably not contending this year? I feel like he might still hold value next season. I wouldn't mind buying him for cheap if owners are scared off of this inevitable drop-off. Okay, yeah, so fair question. We can talk about AJ Brown. Actually was thinking of including him in an upcoming video. I don't know the next time exactly that I'll be doing like a Dynasty buys or best values or that type of a video, but I think it's almost time to shift back into some player-based stuff because I have done strategy heavy recently. But anyway, AJ Brown, 28 years old. First of all, one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Like, PFF ranked him as the #1 wide receiver in the NFL. I don't know. Like, I'm not smart enough to know if that's just a hot take or if that's accurate, but he is absolutely one of the best, probably, I would say almost certainly a top 5 talent, arguably a top 3 talent at wide receiver. It's been hidden by low passing volume in the Eagles offense, but the dude's insane. I don't think he's ever had a season in his career under 2.5 yards per out run. Dude just destroys man coverage. He absolutely eats man coverage for breakfast. So here's what I'll say. I don't think he's going to fall off a cliff. I've seen no evidence that he is declining. He certainly isn't declining. He's, like I said, one of the best in the league. He's just turned 28, so he still has all of his age 28 season, all of his age 29 season before I'm really even thinking about the possibility of him declining as a talent. But what is inevitably true is that he will decline in dynasty value from one season to the next, because he is now at an age where you simply cannot do the same thing year in and year out and expect your dynasty value to stay the same. We see this with the best in the game. We've seen it from Tyreek. We've seen it from Devontae Adams, DeAndre Hopkins. It doesn't matter who you are. Once you get to this age, you are going to decrease in value. So I would say, no, I do not want to roster AJ Brown on a team that I'm not contending, because you can trade him at his peak price now, and then you can reallocate that value into production after the season. So he's not a guy I'm avoiding at all on contending teams. In fact, I'm actually coming around on targeting him, I think, because I think I've been a little bit too nervous about the volume being low without really acknowledging that, like, the floor is still fairly high for him, even in this version of the Eagles offense. And that there are so many, I think I have acknowledged this before, maybe even just in a member stream, but all of the possible things that can happen to the Eagles offense outside of AJ Brown getting hurt, Devonta Smith getting hurt, Saquon Barkley getting hurt, negative game scripts, all of that stuff is going to lead to more pass attempts. It's going to lead to more volume. And that is all good for Brown, because we know he has the talent to soak that up. So I think you're getting a nice floor with him. He's not that expensive, and the upside is huge. And we have, I think, the first super chat in member stream history from my guy, Helix. He liked the Eagles talk. Let's go Eagles. Thanks, Paul, for all the greatness. Hey, thank you, man. You have been an absolute legend, league winner since I think almost the beginning. So I appreciate you also rocking the 609 area code, Eagles fandom. You are the man. Thanks a lot for that. I appreciate it. Richard says, I think AJ Brown's a great contending asset. Philly had 40% pass rate. Even with how dominant their defense is, it'll be hard to be that low. Yeah, absolutely. JJ Zacharyson hammers this point with the regression. They are one of those teams that's just unlikely to be able to run as much as they did last year. And they didn't make any moves to really solidify the running back room behind Barkley. In fact, I think the Ravens and the Eagles are in a similar spot where right now they project very run heavy, but if anything happens to Henry or Barkley, the pass rate's going to have to come way up, because they're not going to give Will Shipley the Barkley workload. They're not going to give Keaton Mitchell the Derrick Henry workload. So I think Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, Devonta Smith, AJ Brown, Dallas Goedert, I think they all have a little bit of upside beyond what the projections might say, where these teams could go more pass heavy, and all of those players are talented enough to absorb that extra volume, because they're all being kind of artificially suppressed by these run-heavy offenses. So makes all of those players a little more interesting to invest in, but especially Brown, who does have that elite ceiling. We've seen it before. So that's my thoughts on AJ Brown. The question, the example trade given was Egbuka and a 26 first. I think that's a totally reasonable price to sell for if you are not a contender. Definitely fine with Egbuka and a first for AJ Brown. The other question was from Austin, AJ the Beast. On the video today's video talked about how you want to keep enough shares of rookies, don't want to be selling off all your rookies. Is there an amount that is too much where you're hurting your teams from a contending point of view? For example, I have 17 rookie first rounders and 17 first round rookies and 18 26 firsts. Is it worth shifting for fair value, or only if it's a win? So I would say it kind of depends on what your teams look like, but I'm assuming they're not all super teams that have all of these picks and all of these rookies and also have a tons of contending pieces, elite young players and stuff. So yeah, I would be looking to spend some of that capital on points right now. And I would be trying my absolute best to prioritize those scarcer assets. So if I'm sending away first, I'm ideally shopping for, at the low end, the London, Nico type of guys, and even maybe splurging at the high end for some of the better players, typically like combining those picks with players you already have to get into those high end assets. As far as having rookies, like I don't think it's as big a deal to have rookies because a lot of those guys can break out and can contribute, especially down the stretch. So like, I don't know, 17 first round rookies and 9. So you have almost 2 first round rookie picks per league. Yeah, I don't think that's a huge deal. Like you could trade them, but I'm not going to trade them just to trade them. For the picks, that's where I'd be a little more aggressive, especially if there are leagues where you have a bunch and you are trying to compete. So yeah, but I would say, to fully answer your question, I would not be sending those first away right now unless it is a value win, because you still have so much time that you can maneuver other assets, that you can shop around, that you can wait for people to change their minds. There's no reason to settle for a fair deal where you're where you're going down an asset class this early in the offseason. Appreciate you again, Helix. Thanks again for that super chat. Best video of the day. Yeah, I think it was absolutely my best video of today. Although this one is, already probably in contention there. So those are the 2 questions that were asked. I've got something here from Ryan Young, and then we'll jump into the trades you guys sent. What are some of your favorite trade strategies pre-draft for a startup? Honestly, don't really think I have a lot of strategies for trading before a startup draft. I don't think I've done that very much. It's a 14-team Superflex, half-point tight end premium. I like to make deals kind of knowing what the board's going to look like. In a 14-team Superflex, I think it actually, you're going to see the quarterbacks go a lot earlier because the scarcity is felt a lot more, a lot more acutely in a 14-teamer because you're going to have 4 more quarterbacks starting on a weekly basis. So I do think putting yourself in position to get at least one elite quarterback is what I would want to do. Somebody like Drake May or higher, Justin Herbert or higher, I would want to have as like an anchor, because it can really suck when you don't have quarterbacks in a 14-teamer. It's much harder to go and be like, yeah, I'll just go get Daniel Jones. I'll just go get Sam Darnold. Like, you have to pay for those guys too. So you really do want to be a little safer. But I don't know enough about what the ADP landscape would look like to suggest a trade ahead of time. Certainly if you can get into the top 3, get one of those big 3 quarterbacks, that seems like a great idea. Even if it's, a situation where you're trading a future first as part of a deal, if it's fair value, I'm okay with that. But yeah, I don't know. I think I'd probably just wait for the draft to get going. Manster says, I'm still a bit worried moving on from Brown, even though we already kind of talked about the situation. Well, if you're not contending, I don't think you should be worried. But you weren't the one that asked the question, so I don't know your team situation. But you shouldn't be worried about moving him if you're not competing. And if you are competing, I don't think you have to move him because, he's going to score a lot of points, and I don't think he's overvalued. But you can clarify that if you want, what your situation is. Ryan says, I have the 101 as a Commanders fan. I'm taking JD5. Hey, I'm an Eagles fan. I have no love for the Washington Commanders, and I would also take Jaden Daniels 101. So I think that's a good call, especially in 14-team Superflex, and I think that's already a good start for your draft. I'm going to switch over to the view here where we can see the Discord, and I'm going to scroll all the way back up and just kind of work my way down through these trades you guys sent. I'll get through whatever I can. Hopefully I can get to all the trades, but there's more than I thought, really. But I asked you to send some trades that you have completed recently with some team context. And I'm just going to kind of talk about what I think of these trades. Obviously, you can't go back and reverse them. So it's just an exercise in reflection. What are we taking away from these deals? Were they smart deals? What would I have done differently? Whatever might be the case. So 1 year punt, wanted to get into some more insulated assets with more upside, as well as get points off the roster. So this is Clanger, Nico Collins Stan, 1 year punt. It's a 6-point passing touchdown, 1.0 tight end premium. There's no tight ends in this trade. 12 team start 11 super flex. He sends away Breece and Bryce, Breece and Bryce for Egbuka and Ward. I think Ward and Hall is more or less a wash. I think Egbuka is more valuable than Bryce. I think this trade is a win for pretty much any context, really. And I might have Breece ahead of Ward, but it can't be by much. I think this is definitely a win for a 1 year punt. You get into these assets that are much more insulated, much more immediate value upside, at least relative to their downside. So great trade from Clanger. Textbook stuff there, especially in a 6-point passing touchdown. I think people could get really excited about Cam Ward depending on how he starts the year. Down below, we have one here from no team context here from Helix, but I'm not going to yell at him because he did make a donation. But his team is called Silly Goats, and he traded his 20th through 23rd round startup picks. I guess they're startup picks for a 2026 third. I have tried doing this a couple of times and nobody ever bites on it. I think this is a great move, honestly, based on what's typically on the board. By the time you get to the 20th round, there's just nothing there of value. So getting a third round pick and not even having to worry about picking out random players and taking like, I don't know, Mac Jones or whatever is the best available in the 20th round. I think that's pretty nice. Oh, there's the context. Well, not really. Okay. Manster says it was a follow-up from our breakdown. So the AJ Brown trade seems like one injury, it can be lights out. Yeah, that team was really hard. I'm just going to be so honest. That team was really hard for me to evaluate. Like if that was my team, I'm really not sure right now what I would be doing with it. That's why I was sort of riding the fence. I do think that it can contend, but it does kind of require, you do have to run pretty pure. And so I wouldn't fault you if you decided to punt on the season, sell everything, because rebuilding this year for you is going to be better than next year since you have your first right this year and you don't have your first next year. So if you're not rebuilding in 2026, you really are ideally pushing it off until 2028 or the 2027 season. And that can be, that could be tough. Like you really do need to run pretty pure. So I think you could go either way. I still think it's fine to let the season play out. And if you don't want to sell Brown right now, maybe you can still get that deal later. But I do think it's fine to like try to play out the season and just see what happens. And I think you can still tank and get that 101 if you make that decision in like week 5. We've got a trade here from Yellow Dog. He gets Lamar Jackson and CeeDee Lamb in exchange for 2 2026 firsts, 2 2027 firsts, and a 26 seconds. He says the 26 first was his own back, so it's probably the 101, and one of the 27 firsts is probably top 4. That's definitely important context because otherwise this is like the most ridiculously lopsided trade of all time. In this case, still a win for you because like even if by the time all of those picks convey, you're technically losing on value, you are getting insane producers right now that are going to give you, those 2 years are going to add a lot of wins over replacement to your team. And they're not guys that are like imminently going to lose a lot of value. So I think that's a great deal for you. I don't really care where the picks end up. You're getting those scarce assets that we want to get. And you're building a team that's going to compete for a bye. Scotty has graced us with his presence. He says, my beloved. Dude, your comment, Scotty's comment cracked me up today. He said that he made his own trade priority list. It's the only list that Paul Patterson is at the bottom of. And I thought that was really funny. And also obviously very, very heartwarming and touching. Manster, who is here in the chat, has 2 trades, tight end premium, 7.75 tight end premium, super flex. Only 2 deals I've done so far. So let's start over here. Ashton Genty in return for Brian Robinson, Rome Odunze, 2027 first. Now, I love this deal. I think this was a great trade to get Genty. It's unfortunate the situation your team is in now where you could actually benefit from having that first and maybe doing a rebuild next year. But I think this was a clear value win for you. And so I don't mind the process on that at all, especially going and getting a scarce asset who's going to hold a lot of value. The other trade I don't like very much. Trading away, I mean, Luke McCaffrey is nothing. Like that dude shouldn't even be rostered in like a 30-man dynasty league. I don't know why somebody wanted him. Luke McCaffrey and a second for Hunter Henry and Tank Dell. Tank Dell is kind of a wild card mystery box, but I'm pretty certain he's not giving us anything this year. And he turns 26 this year, and then he's going to be back next year, and he's going to turn 27 during the season, and his leg might be totally jacked up. So I just don't know if he has any value. Hunter Henry, even in a 1.75 tight end premium, is probably worth like a third at most. So I think you overpaid here a bit for some depth that you didn't really need. With Hunter Henry, I think you can go and get a tight end like that whenever you need to. But it's not a surprising for somebody that's not really been in leagues before. I'm not surprised by this type of a deal. I think I traded my first ever rookie first round pick for Carson Wentz in a 1 quarterback league. So we all make some mistakes in the early going. It's not the worst trade I've ever seen. Scotty says, I gave ETN and a 27 second for a 28 first. Weird or worth it? Very worth it. Great deal. When you can just piece together some trash and you can get yourself a first, I don't care if it's in 2057. Your team's not going to win more or less games because you gave away those pieces, I don't think. And you got yourself a first. So good deal. Moving on, we've got another one from Yella. He's being a little bit greedy here with all of these trades. He says, Hunter boys in shambles. He still doesn't really understand how to give team context. But this deal, he sends away Marvin Harrison, Travis Hunter, and Jaden Blue for Justin Jefferson and a third. I'll just call Blue and the third a wash. Harrison and Hunter for Jefferson. I think in terms of pick value on the rankings, and I think just in terms of getting a scarce potential league winning asset, I think this is a win for Justin Jefferson, who I would say is probably in the 3 base first tier, and Hunter maybe 1.5 to 1.75, Harrison close to 1.5. It's going to come out fairly even in terms of pick value, but when that's the case, you typically want to be consolidating into the top scorers. Moving down, we have 2 deals here from Arlen01. We've got no context, so we're just going to pretend this is a 12-team start 10 PPR Superflex tight end premium. That's my default. That's what we're going to pretend this is. First deal, he sends away Anthony Richardson for 2 seconds and Joe Milton. Ridiculous that you can still get that return for Anthony Richardson anywhere. I would have just traded him for Joe Milton straight up, to be honest. I'm not being honest. I wouldn't do that, but I don't think that their outlooks are all that different at this point. I would take any second round pick for Anthony Richardson personally. I think he's pretty much already moved on to his rap career. 2 seconds feels like just the cherry on top. The other deal is interesting. He sends away Jameson Williams and a 27 first, and I guess we can acknowledge the existence of Ben Sinnott for Travis Hunter and a 26 second. This is one that the people on Twitter would absolutely hate. They'd be like, why would you do this? Jameson Williams is just better than Travis Hunter. As it stands, I don't think it's terrible. I also don't love it. I don't love it. If your team's really strong, you have reasonable confidence that 27 first is going to be, at least not really early. I could see it because we do value Hunter ahead of a base first, but we also do value Jameson Williams a decent bit ahead of a 26 second. So I think this one is at worst at best an even trade. And as I talked about in today's video, I do actually value those future first round picks as a better asset just in general than having a rookie. I'd rather just have the future year first. So I don't know if I'd pull the trigger on this type of a deal, but I don't think it's a really bad one. All right, next one comes from Russell's Muscles. 12 by 10 PPR, 27 first will probably be early. This is a masterclass of a trade. This is exactly, so today's video talks about this, the idea of, I mean, this is just a straight up value like robbery, but just in general, the future year firsts are a better investment as an asset, all things being equal, than these expensive pre-breakout wide receivers. Like, there's a world where Marvin Harrison doesn't even end up scoring that many more points than Jordan Addison this year. And you're getting a 27 first, you're getting Josh Downs. This is an awesome deal for sure. And I would advise anyone who rosters Marvin Harrison anywhere to go and make that trade. Austin says, isn't Hunter 1.75, JMO in the first 1.75? I'll pull up the rankings and take a look at what we've got going on here. Technically speaking, Hunter is hanging out in the range of 1.75 base firsts. Jameson Williams is actually Jameson Williams 0.5, and the 27 first would be 1. So yeah, maybe I was a little bit harsh on the deal when I looked at it. I think I'm just really, really, really wary of trading away 27 first right now, because I think that, I don't know, it's like selling Bitcoin in like the early days when it started to go up. It's like you're probably getting a win, but like you might get a really big win later. I think that's probably what it is. But yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. In terms of what the rankings say, it is actually a win. So it's probably a better trade than I'm giving credit for. Helix, you have a great night, my friend. See you next time. See you in the League Winners chat. Take it easy. Hunto is here to replace Helix. We needed to remove one 5-letter name starting with H and replace it with another one. So Hunto is here. I don't know if you have any trades in the chamber, but we're working our way through. Mostly been winners for our boys here in the members chat. So I've been happy to see it. Next trade comes from Nico. 12 by 10 PPR. No mention of tight end premium. Seems kind of relevant, Nico, because there's a tight end in this trade. I will give my opinion one way or the other. I think it might be the same opinion either way. You send away Njoku and Achane for Lad McConkey and a third. And I think that's a deal I'm making regardless of whether it's tight end premium or not. Lad is just so much more secure of an asset than Achane. He has insane upside in his own right. And as much as I like Njoku as a guy you can, go out and get at a reasonable price right now, you can go and get another tight end. Like, it's not a big deal to go get a different tight end. So this is a great deal to get McConkey. Again, upgrading into one of these scarce, young, elite assets. That's what I like to see. I guess Achane is sort of in that group too. It's tough with running backs though, because it's so quick to change. I'd almost consider him a veteran elite, even though he is technically 23. Regardless, good trade for Russell. Austin's got a couple here too. These aren't that recent, but would be curious to see you break them down. The first is a pretty likely playoff first, both PPR, half point tight end premium. Okay, first deal, Austin gets Travis Hunter in exchange for a likely late 2026 first and Tyreek Hill and Jalen Warren. Totally fine with this trade. First is probably like, we can just hedge between late and base, and we'll just call it, 0.8. Tyreek Hill, 0.5. There you go, 1.3. Warren is kind of just a throw in. That feels like a totally good buy on Travis Hunter. Other deal, he gets Bowers. I don't even need to look at the trade. That's a win. Half point tight end premium, Kenneth Walker, Tony Pollard. He does send away Ladd, along with Hawkinson, Kyle Williams, Jonathan Taylor. Kyle Williams and Pollard, close enough to be a wash. So Taylor and Walker, I think, close enough to be a wash. Ladd plus Hawkinson for Bowers, massive, massive win, in my opinion. In a tight end premium league, 100%. 100%. That's a great deal to get Bowers. It's amazing you were able to get him for that. I can't believe somebody wanted to part with him there. But yeah, I mean, absolutely love it. I think Bowers quite easily outscores Ladd McConkey in tight end premium this year. I don't care about the difference between Walker and Taylor. Hawkinson is very replaceable, in my opinion. And I mean, you replaced him with Bowers, so you just need to go find a wide receiver. So good deals. Another one from Russell's back again here with another trade. Probably knocked another one out of the park. Sends away A.J. Brown, who we just talked about, with Kenneth Walker and a third for Puka and a second. Another great deal. Knocked it out of the park. I find that when it's all members sending trades that I don't find myself taking the other side that often. Yeah, I mean, Puka Nacua is just like, he might be the overall wide receiver 1 this year in scoring. He certainly has a chance, and he's almost locked in to be like top 5. He's like 3.5, 4 years younger than AJ Brown. That difference to me between Puka and AJ Brown is much, much wider than the difference between Walker, a third, and a 2026 second. Like, it's just not even close. So love that deal. Even though you're losing Walker, you can go backfill him with, go send that 26 second and backfill him with a running back like DeAndre Swift or whatever. No big deal. Okay. We got one from the username got me here. Destroy Goonley. A bit late to the party. Hey, welcome to the members stream. I have not seen you here before. If you're watching the replay, happy you're here. I actually put your trade on the thumbnail. So congrats to you. 16 team Superflex PPR league. 107 ended up being Travis Hunter. Sends Barkley away for Hunter and Adams. It's interesting because at first glance, I would think, I don't know about this trade to send away Barkley. Like, you're probably getting Judkins there. Judkins and Adams for Barkley. That's not really very exciting. The fact that you got Hunter there, and maybe you made this deal on the clock, or maybe you just rolled the dice, but either way, getting Hunter there makes it suddenly a much, much better deal because I literally have Hunter ranked ahead of Barkley in Dynasty. So that makes it a huge win for you. Good deal. Gina plays poker. We have my first ever Dynasty draft. I have been trading like a maniac. Love to hear it. I do not have any of my first 7 picks. Moved all over the place. This one was significant. Moved back from Daniels. Took Chase. Moved up 3 rounds and got a future first back, which I needed as they had already traded away too much. 5 picks in 4 rounds. Okay. 12 team half PPR. Super flex. Pretty happy with my team. So here's the deal. Very convoluted type of trade, but we've got sending away Jaden Daniels, JSN, and Garrett Wilson for the 104, which ends up being Chase, 209, 309, 509, a future first, and 2 future firsts. Yeah, this deal is insane because you're moving from Daniels down to Chase, which is a legitimate downgrade in a half PPR format, but still, you're moving up marginally in rounds 2 and 3 and 5. And then you're getting a first for your 7-11, which is basically a wash. And then you're getting a first for a 26 second. And the first the 26 first is almost certainly more valuable than who you're getting in round 7. So that's, I think, a big value win. And you can see how the team's coming together here. JSN basically became Drake London, I think, or maybe Caleb. I don't know. I'm not sure how you got all these picks. Jamar, London, Caleb, Tet. Tet seems more likely to be the 311, so maybe you made a different trade to get an extra third or a late second rounder. But either way, Chase, London, Caleb, Tet, Henderson. I do like that start. I definitely like that startup draft trade. Very good. Austin, you're definitely right. I was just not thinking through it clearly. I'd say the 511 is closer to a future first value. 711, maybe, 711 could be like a Waddle or Pickens or whatever. I'd still rather have a first, but in terms of value, it could be somewhat close. But yes, that certainly would be breaking the tie to the pick there. All right. And the 26 first, just going to guess that the person trading their 26 first is going to be more likely to be a little bit, a little bit later. I wouldn't consider it a base first without context. Nikolai is here. What's up? I haven't seen any of yours unless your name in the Discord is Nico. I'm not sure if you were the one that asked the question. Maybe you are. I mean, that seems likely. It's Niko is the first 4 letters of your name. So we did talk about AJ Brown at the beginning, if that was your question, and some of your deals here. We're moving on to Jumbo 918. Has been sitting in my inbox, so this might not be a completed trade yet. Not sure why I haven't pulled the trigger. Both lower half teams, first round are likely to be high. I receive Rice. Other wide receivers, Neighbors, Hunter, Ayuk, Addison, Downs. Okay. So the deal being McMillan and 2 seconds for Rice and a first. I think if that first was on a strong team, I think it would be totally reasonable to pass on this. But knowing that it's probably a high first, I think you want to go ahead and do this. Because I think Rice has decent enough odds to score enough points this year to just be ahead of Tet. If Tet struggles and Rice is putting up wide receiver 1 numbers, they're close enough in age that I think he's going to pass him or be in the same tier as him. The first rounder potentially being early just gives you so much value upside on that side of the deal that I think you gotta go for that side. So pull the trigger if it's still there. And Klanger backs me up here. Lateral wide receiver move. Jumbo says he loves Tet. He's an Arizona alum. Look, you gotta you gotta be, I think you have to separate yourself emotionally from your fandoms. If you want to be building optimal teams, if you want to be winning leagues, you can go buy his jersey, but I think you need to trade him off your team. All right, we've got one from Double King here. Complete rebuilder. 12 teams start 9. 107 became Judkins. Okay. So he traded away Bijan on a rebuilder. I understand that. For Bryce Young, kind of yucky. 107, 27 first, and 2 seconds. So if we consider Bryce Young to be about late first, this is about late first. So base 1, 2 late ones. That's like 2.5 base firsts, and then 2 seconds. It's not like the best return I've ever seen for Bijan, especially in a start 9, where the star power at the top is like disproportionately more valuable. But I also don't think it's a terrible return for Bijan. When you're in a rebuild, you're giving yourself a lot more opportunity to gain value here, and you're protecting yourself from injury risk. I would hope you could turn around and sell Bryce for another first. That's something I would like to do. And if you can get a first for Bryce, like if you can get a 27 first or even a playoff team's 26 first, then I think you're really cooking at that point. So not a terrible deal. I think maybe you could have waited just a little bit longer just because the season's not here yet. There's still a chance that someone could get even more excited about Bijan, ready to go all in and maybe give you a better deal. But I don't think that's a back-breaking type of trade. I think for a rebuild that could totally work out for you. And that's caught up unless we have anything new. Okay, we have a couple new ones. KJ, we have 2 new ones. So we'll get through those and then we'll see. If you guys want to throw some questions in the chat, otherwise I'll probably wrap this one up maybe a little bit early. Up to you guys. 16 teams, Superflex, PPR, half-point tight end premium. The first rounder is probably around 106, give or take. So we'll call it a mid-first. 16 team, super flex. He sends away Tyrod Taylor, so that's a big deal. Saquon, Kirk, 26-1 for Mayer and Neighbors. Okay, I don't care much about Mayer and Tyrod Taylor. So Barkley, Kirk, and a first for Neighbors. That is a price worth paying for Malik Neighbors. Getting those scarce assets is even harder in these big leagues. So to be able to get off the downside risk of a 28-year-old Saquon Barkley and get a Malik Neighbors, it's obviously going to suck if that ends up being a non-playoff pick. But even if it does, even if that is 105, 106, I still really, really want the Neighbors side, like very, very clearly. So good deal there, KJ. I am guessing you're probably in the stream here because you just sent it after we went live. So good stuff. Late submission from For Realster, 12 by 10, Superflex. We've got Frillster sending away Tyreek and Olave and a second for McMillan and Kyle Williams. I think second and Kyle Williams is a wash, close enough for our purposes. I'd slightly lean the second, but that's fine. And then Tyreek and Olave for McMillan. I think that's a win. Olave is late first. Hill is early second. You call that 1.25. I definitely have Tet ahead of 1.25 base firsts. Yeah, I like this trade. You're getting the most scarce asset. You're getting the most value upside. You're maybe sacrificing a little bit of scoring upside with Tyreek, but you're giving yourself access to a value ceiling you just don't have otherwise. So I can get down with that one. Austin says, yeah, but Saquon will be better this year. I mean, there's no guarantee that Saquon outscores Neighbors this year. They go like 3 picks apart in redraft. I think Neighbors could absolutely be the more impactful asset. Like, there's plenty of ways that could happen. And even if Saquon does outscore him this year, Neighbors is still going to score a ton of points and also be like 22 and a half years old when the season's over. So yeah, definitely want that side. I don't care if Saquon outscores him. Hunto is here trying to make sure we stay live. He's working overtime. Not sure how I feel about these trades. Kind of feel bad. 12 team, start 10. Half PPR, tight end premium, super flex. We'll see if he should feel bad for himself or the other person. He, in this trade, he sent away JJ McCarthy, Breece Hall, and a 26 second for Achane, a 26 first, Cortland Sutton, and a third. In terms of where these guys are valued, like most closely together, we'll say Hall and we'll say you sent Hall and a second for Achane and a third. We'll say Hall and a second for Achane and a third is probably a pretty fair trade. So you basically traded away McCarthy for a first and Cortland Sutton. I wouldn't do that personally in a super flex unless you had reason to believe that was going to be a really late pick. Oh, I read it backwards. I think I read it backwards because it says 2 Cam demand. So, and that's Hunto's pick there is the first. So actually, I read it backwards. He traded away Achane, 26 first and a third, and Sutton for Breece, McCarthy, and second. I think that's a good. I think that's a good trade for you. I think it's fine to downgrade from Achane to Breece. Like, I think Achane probably outscores him, but I wouldn't call it a lock. I still think Breece is just as talented. I think there's plenty of systemic risk for the Dolphins that's not as priced in as it is for the Jets. So I don't mind that downgrade. And then, you're getting McCarthy for what I would hope is a playoff projected first and Cortland Sutton. That feels like a steal. So you shouldn't feel bad about that trade. The other one you got Breece Hall, or no, you traded away Breece Hall in another league to Baker 0116 in exchange for a first and 2 seconds. Yeah, I don't know why you'd feel bad about these trades. This is a totally fine return for Breece Hall. You get 26 first is going to be a 0.75 at worst. I have Breece just above base 1 value. I think the 2 seconds are going to close that gap pretty easily. I don't know what your team context is, but I think this is a very fine trade to accept for Breece Hall. So yeah, good trades, guys. Genuinely, I think I maybe picked the opposite side in just like 1 or 2. Otherwise, I think you guys pretty much crushed it. I have no idea what this is from Obscure Gnome playing some kind of weird dwarf game. I might be stupid. I don't know what this is. It like looks like off-brand RuneScape to me. But whatever it is, he's a level 1. I don't know. Is this what you're doing instead of watching the stream? Because that's a little bit insulting to me. Very much wrong chat. Sorry. It's fine. You're just being broadcast live to all the members right now. Okay, Hunto with a correction here. He receives Achane. So maybe I read both of them wrong. If I read both of them wrong, then I could understand why you might feel bad. I don't love assuming we've got this right now and you are getting the left side of these deals, I do not love these trades. I do think that you maybe sold a little bit low on. It's weird because it looks like you kind of sold low on Breece Hall here, and then you kind of sold high. I mean, you kind of bought high on Breece Hall here. Yeah, I don't know. I don't love these trades. I mean, I don't think they're terrible at all, and there's certainly a world where a first in Cortland Sutton could be more valuable than JJ McCarthy. I don't know. This one seems really, really tough to me. Like, it just seems like you should be able to use those picks to get something better. And if it was just a first and a second, I think I could squint and see it. I don't think a first and 2 seconds is like, I think that's a little bit much for Hall, who's in a bit of a precarious position right now. But anyway, no big deal. Appreciate you sending them in regardless. It was less confusing to me than whatever this is. Does anybody know what game this is? I have no idea. Okay, great. Well, that was good. That was fun. I enjoyed going over those trades. If you guys liked that, we can certainly do that type of thing again. It was very fun to talk through. I think I am going to wrap this up if you guys are cool with that. I'm a little bit tired. I know my wife wants to watch some TV. We are planning to watch. We just started watching a show called Suits. I don't know if any of you have seen that before. It's like a fairly old show. I know it's like already wrapped up and has a bunch of seasons, but it's pretty fun. Legal show. I'm enjoying it so far. So probably going to go do that. Maybe read a book for a bit. I don't know exactly what's on the agenda for content next week. There will certainly be a video at some point. I'm a little bit on the fence about what type of a video it should be. I think I'm planning to do a live stream as well. The live stream is actually going to be, I'm going to take like some mailbag questions about trade strategy and use that to kind of piggyback off of the last two strategy videos, kind of tie that all together, do something other than just a regular like startup mock or trade review. So we'll do that. As far as the video, maybe buys, maybe sells. I don't know. I'm trying to package it up in a different way. I could just do buys or sells, just do one of each. I could also do it as like best values and worst values to make it less of like that makes it more like players to avoid in drafts, I guess, which isn't as actionable. Yeah, I don't know. At some point, probably later in the summer, I'm going to do like a flag plant video, which is I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on. The chat doesn't concern me. I'm going to do like a flag plant video, which is like my highest conviction takes for the season, because I tend to ride the fence a lot and like talk so much about range of outcomes. So put some receipts down that we can return to after the season. I'm not exactly sure what's going to be on there, but we're going to do it. Market plays. Yeah. Domain, Dynasty domain market plays. Okay. Well, I'm open to more ideas. You guys are always welcome to tag me in the members chats anywhere you want. If you have video ideas, things you think people would want to see. I think I'm typically like pretty well in touch with the masses, but I do like input. I like ideas. And yeah, it's wide open for next week. So we'll see what video idea calls out to me, and we'll get it started over the weekend. But yeah, good talking to you guys. Hope you guys have a good weekend, and I will talk to you soon.